What kind of person runs the entire length of Africa through deserts, jungles, war zones, inspiring millions, and just keeps on going? Today, I'm joined by the man who did exactly that. He's the hardest geezer. If you haven't subscribed to the show already, then please do. Your support helps us grow the show and allows us to keep getting incredible guests like Russ. If you already have subscribed, then thank you so much. Now, let's get untapped with Russ Cook. The hardest geezer.
Hello, mate.
You're here.
I'm here.
This is a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're here. I've said this before. I've said this to you before, but for the benefit of our Untapped listeners, you were a huge inspiration to me. I followed you from the very start of your run across Africa. I found your appetite for the challenge and just your general kind of
Ferociousness,
exactly, and kind of zeal for life, if there is such a thing. To be really infectious. I just loved your content from the second I saw it.
Thanks, man.
I'm proud to have you as a guest.
Oh, no, that's nice. Thanks. That's a really nice intro, isn't it? Wow, thank you, mate.
I'd love to talk to you about your experience of Africa, maybe to begin with.
Yeah.
Were you ever full of doubt, or how did it feel? Where did the idea come about?
Where it came from initially is obviously I ran from Asia to London, Istanbul to London 2019. And I did that because, I was kind of sick of the monotony of my younger years. Wake up, work, sleep, eat, same thing, repeat, go out the weekend, job done. So I decided to quit everything, go travelling with, not very much money, but I just started buying one-way tickets, staying in the cheapest hostels I could find all over the world and that. And I met this Italian guy who'd been cycling around the world for 6 years, just with a few little bits on his bike. And to me, it was the most inspirational thing I've ever heard. It really just showed me that all of those kind of expectations and frameworks that I think life has to be in certain way, and you have to achieve this, and then you move on to that, and blah blah blah. And I was like, hold on, he's just completely got the rule book and just gone rip it all the way up, and it was quite freeing really to speak to him. And obviously, I've been training and running quite a lot at the time. I'd got into marathons and things, so that I had this kind of spark. I'm going to run home from Asia. So, I did that. I had a couple grand that I got from a clinical trial when I went to Australia. You walk into this hospital building, they pump you full of this new untested drug that they've got, give you a couple grand for the pleasure. After that, it was all right, to be fair. I went to a traveller at the time as well, right? Like free accommodation, free food, 2 weeks, and they're going to pay me. I was like, sweet as. So, I took that money and then I bought a hammock and a camelback and a pair of running shoes and a flute and a one-way ticket to Istanbul, and then I just ran home from there. So that was kind of the start of it, and it was super raw. Obviously, there was no team, there was no support.
Were you on your own?
Yeah, totally on my own. I was just sleeping in trees every night, just tie my hammock up and I just sleep there. Then I'd wake up, run another marathon, and for me that was kind of it wasn't really documented very well because I didn't really know about social media at the time. I wasn't really a social media person. I just thought I'd take a few photos along the way and just upload them to the gram for the boys back home. So yeah, I'll just take a photo every day and be like, yes lads, I'm in Serbia tonight or so, whatever it's going on. So yeah, I finished that, and then I thought there's something in this. That was a massive journey for me. It was that was my kind of breakthrough sort of moment, like when you were speaking about your marathon in the desert. So that was my kind of whoa, I can do anything here. If I really, that to me, what that showed me was I'm a ferocious little bastard, right? And if I set my sight on something and go, that is it, that is all I'm after, is that, and I just chew down, then I can make anything happen. Or I could certainly make a lot more than I thought I was capable of happen. So after I finished the Asia to London run, I started thinking about new continents and blah, blah, blah. And I was looking at Africa and I was thinking, doable. But that took about 3 years really to get that on the go, because I needed, for Africa, I needed more resources. I needed a team. It wasn't physically possible without certain things in place. So, then I went on a journey of okay, well, how does business work? And how do we get sponsors? What do sponsors want from me? Why would they sponsor something like this? Etc. Trying to kind of bring a team on, sell them a vision. Right, we're going to do this. I'm going to be the first person to run Africa. We're going to film it. We're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. We're going to make a documentary, all this stuff. So, that was about a 3-year process in itself just to get to the start line. And then, I always said to everyone that was involved, I was like, as soon as, The difficult part for me is getting to the start line. Once I'm on the start line, it's game over. We're making it happen.
And you did more than a marathon on many of the days. You
I
just
think on average it was about 50k a day
for a year.
For a year, well, 352 days, yeah, long. But it was that ferociousness in me that like everything aligned perfectly. When there's times in your life where everything just lines up and you're like, hell for leather, this is getting it every day for a year. And it's like, wow, it really took it out of me big time. But I knew that I wanted to leave everything out there and just leave that constant knowing I gave it absolutely everything I had, more than I ever thought I could have. And I just left it all there.
Had you mapped out the time it was going to take you, or did you kind of figure that out as you were going?
Well, originally I thought about 8 months. So originally I was kind of planning on going straight through the middle. And then, as is Africa, there's coups and border problems and all types of different problems going on. So we ended up kind of skirting around the west coast, which added a bunch of mileage on.
I did think that that the line you chose was not direct.
Definitely not direct, yeah. And believe me, I would have taken a direct route if I could have. But, going through that, it was Niger. Niger was a bit of an issue. And even throughout the project, I was, I'd often sit down with the team and go, I think we should go through Niger because, it would cut off about 2,000-3,000 K. But, unfortunately, no, it wasn't possible. There's still a lot of problems going on.
I've had the pleasure of chatting to you before about this, and you mentioned that you didn't have any physio the whole time you were in Africa.
No.
I struggle to understand. I'm not suggesting that that's not true. I struggle to understand how your body was able to cope with the strain of moving, even if you weren't running hard. Which I think, you were clearly moving well, but how did you manage the pain?
Oh, the pain was tough. Yeah. Probably one of the most difficult parts. And I don't know what injuries you kind of had, but I remember there was a few, there was a back problem I had. And, it started, all of the nerves in my legs and my lower back were pinging off every now and again, just kind of uncoordinated. And I found that really tricky. There's a lot of stuff though that's kind of surface level pain, if you know what I mean, things like blisters and muscle fatigue, and it's only when things like snap or nerves get involved that it's that's a big problem.
Did you have to fix anything along the way?
There was always certain things. I remember there was I had my right foot swelled up pretty bad. Republic of Congo, I think that was. But you can manage, for me, it's all about just managing the situation. So over the course of 16,000 K, I was like, look, it's probably unrealistic to think I'm going to go out there and just bash 5-6 minute Ks every day, non-stop 50k a day. But when I picked up an injury, it was more just right, let's manage that situation until it's kind of got over that hill, and then we can go back. So it's just if I picked up my back issue, for example, then I took some time to walk and ease that intensity, and then lo and behold, these things come back around. Just time, patience.
The body, it's a remarkable thing.
It really is incredible, mate. Yeah.
Did you find that your body transformed, adapted to what you were putting it through when you told yourself that it's a reality, that this is day in, day out going to be the case, and so you eliminate any kind of doubt that this is going to stop? Did you find how quickly did you find that your body responded to that with change?
100%. I always found, I don't know if you ever get this, but I might wake up and think, oh, my knee or something, my knee, you feeling whack today. I don't know, I'm standing going, I can't even put any pressure on it. And the amount of times something like that's happened, and then I've gone, well, in my head anyway, the day's running is happening, right? So it's less of a, is it happening or isn't it happening? It's just how are we going to do it? And then I'll start, and an hour, it might take an hour, but an hour or so in, it starts easing up, and we can just keep, going. It's all just push.
It's amazing, even over the course of what most people would call a long run. Call it 30k or something like that. You go out for a long run.
Yeah.
The different stages that you might feel in that run.
Yeah.
So I did a 30k the other day. First 8 or 9, horrendous, as you're saying, just tired, low recovery, overtrained,
Don't
like
fancy
like
it,
not glycogen levels depleted, not had breakfast, whatever excuse you might come up with, just don't feel great, heavy, bit of pain in the knees. And then you kind of like, you hear a song that you love, or like or whatever, or like your mind drifts a bit, and all of a sudden you're 20K in and you're breezing, just cruising along, and all the pain that might have made you stop is banked and gone, and it's just and your body kind of adapts and changes. Were you fueling a lot?
That's
all
interesting.
the time?
He's obviously with the fueling, especially at the start in Africa, it was pretty tricky. We'd be eating food off the side of the road. I was getting food poisoning all the time. On days, I think it was 24, 25, I was pissing blood. It was pretty bad. Since I was losing so much weight. And there's a certain amount of, you're just always going to be taking that risk when in a different continent eating random different food. But obviously having Huel come on as my sponsor was big, because then I had like at least a staple of my diet.
Yeah.
Like at least like half of it was good, clean, nutritionally complete food with like everything I needed in it.
Did you feel it made a big physical difference?
Well, it in the weight loss, basically like the first kind of 2 months, you can see I've just and then after I got the Huel in, it started, I was still losing weight. I'm still running 50k a day in the desert and whatnot, but like the decline was like less rapid. Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of these that's necessarily got all my measurements of going like I need this and I need that everywhere. I'm more like I'm a freedom type of guy. I just like to go out and just, I'm running, and that's just how I'm, that's how I am.
Tell me if there was a time when you genuinely thought the challenge was over.
So physically, I'd say I was always pretty steadfast, and I'll always be able to keep moving forward. There was obviously a few logistical issues along the way that I thought might, this thing might get taken out of my hands. I think one of the bigger ones was probably Algeria, getting into Algeria. We tried to get visas for it the first time. They said no. Then we flipped the whole mission on its head and started from the south to give us more time to try and kind of weasel our way in there, and it was getting closer and closer and closer, and we still hadn't managed to do anything. We tried to exhaust all of the proper channels that we could have, and then eventually I said to the boys, I was like, listen, we got a bit of a following online these days. I reckon we like try and get a video out, and just try and get that thing to go, set some fire to that and just let it go, and hopefully someone important will see it and they'll kind of open some doors for us. And it worked.
I remember the video.
Yeah. So it was pretty high risk because, all the advice from the people with us were saying like Algeria is quite a closed country. If you put this video online, they'll probably take offense to it, and then you're definitely never getting in. But it was so close to the wire. We had about 30 days or so before we were due to get into Algeria. And if I couldn't get into Algeria, I couldn't complete the mission. So it was a Hail Mary. And when that came off, that was pretty big news, to be fair. That was incredible.
Obviously, there are similarities in the running across Africa, running across New Zealand challenge, but how did the finishing moments compare in each? Like, obviously, the moment that you crossed the finish line in Africa was this, monumental, inspiring moment that where essentially the hardest geezer was like, has arrived, born, he's arrived, like millions of people watching. How did New Zealand feel in comparison to that?
Yeah, I mean, they felt pretty different, to be fair. I think obviously in Africa, it was like that. It was an arrival moment, and it had kind of felt like my entire life had been leading towards that point. It felt like pretty monumental. I think with New Zealand, obviously, it was a bit more of a lower stakes challenge. So for me, it was more just like we've run out of Ireland now. That's it. We've run out of Ireland. And that was a challenge of my life, and there is going to be many more to come. And it was just like sort of a continuation of this. Challenges are always coming, but Africa was definitely like a pivotal one. It was like that's probably how I'd describe it.
The guy who crossed the finish line with you?
What, the yellow t-shirt guy?
Yeah. I remember
he beat me in my own race. He beat me in a one-man race.
I remember seeing that and thinking, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like
some local Tunisian geezer, fair play to him. Yeah, just pit me to the post, Through.
I am a massive fan of Whoop, and the all-new Whoop experience is here. and it's absolutely better than ever. If you're new to Whoop, it's the only wearable that turns your health and fitness data into personalized guidance to help you perform at your best. The updated hardware is now smaller, lasts 14 plus days on a single charge, and includes powerful new features like health span tracking, heart screener, and improved sleep performance insights. It doesn't just give you numbers, it helps you understand how your body is doing, how you're recovering, and what changes you can make to improve. Whether you're just getting started or deep into your health journey, Whoop is the tool to help you untap your potential. Click the link below for your first month free. The rise of ultra challenges is certainly a thing now.
Yeah, every day I feel like I log on to Instagram and someone's doing a day saying of something, you know?
Do you ever feel that, and I'm aware that ultras were around obviously before your big mission, but as I've already said, I was inspired by you. Do you ever feel that you're inspiring people to pursue challenges that they're not ready for?
Yeah, I have felt that a few times, you know. People can do a lot of damage to themselves just running themselves into the ground. But also, I hope overall it's positive. You know, I wouldn't recommend to people to go and run Africa, for example. But like, I would also always recommend to like go and run a bit further than maybe you ever have. Like, or you know, go and push yourself. Like, go and find something that you really want to achieve and work out how you're going to do it, and just go and smash it. You know, and hopefully that's like the overall message. Obviously, there's going to be a few people in there in the mix that decide to go and bury themselves and you know actually butcher their body, but. Take the rough with the smooth.
I think it's an interesting paradox, isn't it? If you want to call it that. I think, you know, I've tackled ultras with very little preparation and felt
you find
the
out
pain
quickly, don't you?
Yeah, I felt the pain and you know the emotional, you know, drama, I suppose, and jeopardy that comes with it when you feel like you're really like down and out and you've got nothing left to give because you're underprepared. And that in itself is an incredible experience because you pull yourself out of the depths of hell, right? To get to the end. And it's very meaningful, right? Because you're teaching yourself that, you know, it's fucking hard. And when it is this hard, you almost have a greater sense of pride because you've proven something to yourself. But, you know, prior to tackling the 30, any ultra I ever did, I injured myself really badly. Right? Big swollen foot or ankle, big busted hip because, you know, you're not conditioned. So you didn't really belong there in the first place. But then, of course, you do kind of belong there because you completed it. And you got you know, you had the moment of managing it. And I felt, you know, when I was watching you and preparing for the 1330, I thought, you know, I better take this seriously, right? Because it's a charity thing. There's going to be a lot of eyes on it. The last thing I want, you know, with my privileged reputation is to say I'm going to do this, go out and fail on day 3 or 4 or 10 or whatever it might be. So like the stakes are high, right? Because it's a whole month, you know, and kind of, I, for the first time in my life, really like fully prepared for it, you know, put in the time, did 2,000 kilometers in prep for it, just really conditioned my body. And as a result of that, was told almost on a daily basis by people online, like, oh, you're finding this easy. Oh, this looks like fun. You know, and it's kind of, people were almost slightly less invested in it because we were playing great music and enjoying ourselves and drinking clean cocktails and like cracking gags online. And it was kind of like, why aren't you crying? And why aren't you in pain? And it's kind of, I was trying to figure out, obviously we weren't going to change what we were doing. To me, that all that meant was like, well, you're doing a good job, right? That's what you're doing eventually. And, you know, that's what you did. Firstly, did you have that? Did people say that to you? That it just looks like you're having a jolly or not?
Not so much, to be fair. But I mean, every month or so, like something disastrous would happen. So like, I don't think there was enough time to really build up that time of a sense of a jolly. Especially, I mean, in Africa, it was literally, you know, like this month it's pissing blood, next month we robbed a gunpoint, then I'm held hostage in a jungle, now I'm running through the desert, now I'm eating a snake for dinner, you know, like no physio, we've got a blue Iveco daily van that's just an old school minibus. So we never really hit those like holiday type vibes. With me in Africa, we didn't have to really dial up the drama because the drama was just like inbuilt into the daily running of it all. Like there was no getting away from it really. Just the circumstances we put ourselves were like inbuilt for a mad one. like at the start, I would have, we had no money, had a like total ragtag team. There was barely any of us. It was like, we were like proper underdogs trying to make it happen. Felt like I don't even know how we're going to do this sort of thing. So I didn't start feeling like really grateful. I started feeling like we're up against it here. And then as I ran through more of these countries and more of the continent, met more of the people, then I started to have this sense of more like the very fact that running the length of Africa has even been an idea that's entered my head shows how privileged and how lucky and how grateful I should be to even be here. Because there's, I'm meeting people every day that can't even, like, are struggling to feed their families and all this kind of stuff. And that was something that grew in me as I traveled up the continent.
Talk me through the final days of it. So, and also, when did it gain like national recognition?
It's hard. I mean, it came in stages. Really. I guess like at the start, there was a big influx of people that came to and started supporting, like right from the early doors, to be fair. And then, obviously, towards the end, it went a bit mad. I was so deep in it by the end. Like for the last month or so, I was doing 75, 80 kilometer days. So I wasn't really doing anything other than running and sleeping. So I was pretty tuned out to everything. I'd chuck something on Instagram, that close the app, and that'd be that until the next day, and then I'd do the same thing. But I do remember seeing like it all go a bit mad. And I just didn't really think about it until I was finished. And then I came back to the UK, and then I landed in London, and like I was, getting recognised in the tube and things, and I was like, this is wild, eh?
Like, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was weird.
Because, by the way, you were the hardest geezer before you went to Africa, right? You had a fight with one of your pals in a parking lot somewhere, and you earned the right to call yourself the parking geezer.
Yeah, that's the story goes. Yeah.
The hardest geezer, sorry, the parking geezer.
It was a lot to kind of to deal with. Like my life obviously changed quite a bit when I came back. So I don't even know if to this day I fully understand it or processed it, or I'm just just kind of get on with it. Like the rest of my life, we're just going to get on with this new stage, this new season, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was necessarily made to be like in the public eye like that, to be honest. I'm a bit more of a just close myself off from the world type of bloke.
What's it like, you're the hardest geezer, you've run across Africa, you've run across New Zealand, your challenges are big, they take a lot of time, they're huge, other people don't really chew off what you chew, right?
Yeah.
Is there a sense that the next thing has to be bigger, better? What does being you feel like now that you've set your bar so high?
Yeah, I do. I think I do feel the pressure a bit more now. Felt like when no one was watching, I was free to kind of do whatever I want. And now, with more people watching, it feels like I have to everything has to be set in place, and do I have to go and top it, or that's something that's kind of been in my head since I finished it. Like, do I have to top it, or I think my answer is only if I want to, and I have to really like make sure that it's coming from the right place. For me, like these challenges, like Africa was so difficult and so painful, as you'll know with your stuff, that you can't really do it if you don't in your heart want it. For me, if I wake up and I've got that feeling of like I'll headbutt through this brick wall to get this thing done, then I'm unstoppable. But if I haven't got that, I'm fucked. So I need to, like, with whatever I do in life, whether it's challenges or work, whatever I'm doing, I really need to know what it is that I want and make sure that I'm doing that, and not get kind of drawn in by all of these little fancy shiny things rolling around on the periphery,
What was the feeling that you're chasing? So kind of, you did Africa. I'd love to talk to you about New Zealand as well. Did you find the interest in New Zealand matched that of Africa, or was it a little bit smaller? Was it an anticlimax, or was it brilliant? How did it go?
I think it was Africa and New Zealand, very different challenges, very different places, really. Like Africa from the start, it's an underdog story right from the get-go. We've got nothing. We're trying to make this impossible thing happen. There's a lot more jeopardy involved. It's dangerous. I'm getting ill all the time. I'm pushing it harder than I've ever pushed it before. With New Zealand, beautiful country, we were getting welcomed in everywhere we went. We were with the tourism boards who were like helping us do the whole thing. Didn't have to worry about resources because it's all sorted out for us. So if I'm completely honest with you, the challenges aren't the same. They're very different, and I think for that reason, people are less interested in running across New Zealand. Like, I've done that kind of mileage before. I've proved to myself that I can do it. So for me, the challenge of New Zealand was more one after Africa of going back to doing something that I've always loved doing, running, and just slowing down a bit with it and enjoying the process a bit more. And I think for me, that's kind of what I'm trying to take away from it, is that with all of these challenges, I don't know about you, but I can get really like honed in on the finish line of everything. Like, get to the finish, get to the finish, get to the finish, get to the finish. And I think with New Zealand, it was more like, okay, but one day the finish line of life will come and you'll be dead, mate. So like, you got to try and enjoy the process a bit whilst you're here. So I think for me, it's like, all right, let's figure out how we can enjoy the process a little bit more.
What were the difficulties with New Zealand, or was it just a far more supported effort? The kind of, did you even find times during that challenge where you thought, I missed the jeopardy of Africa a bit?
I guess so, but I think the challenges with New Zealand were probably more mental than anything, because I rolled into New Zealand off the back of Africa thinking 3,000k light work. I'll breeze this. I barely even need to train for it. And then I rolled up and quickly found out that it's like, running is not something that you can just complete and then you're good at it for life. Running is something you need to continuously maintain. And I got probably a little bit overconfident with how tuned up my body was. So I quickly found out in New Zealand with lots of injuries. So that was a big wake-up call, because it's like, if you're going to take on multi-thousand kilometre runs, you need to train like an absolute mad dog. And you need to be tuned up all the time. You can't just slack off and think that, it's all right, it's going to be okay now. But overall, the terrain in New Zealand was obviously pretty difficult, lots of mountains. But yeah, compared to Africa, the challenges were not the same. But then, I look at a Gucci, for example, breaking that Australian record, and I'll be like, you are a seriously mad dog, and I rate that.
Yeah, Will Googe comes with some controversy, doesn't he?
Oh, really? I'm not very tuned in. What's the controversy?
There was a little controversy around some of his data, like a very, very low heart rate, very, very, very fast pace for some periods, but like, I'm not calling him out, by the way.
Yeah.
I believe that Will Googe is a talented ultra runner.
Yeah,
I think he's done some awesome stuff. I to be honest, I'm not wading in on the situation. It's I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
There was quite a few people that questioned that questioned his data as being legit, but there's also a bunch of people that questioned it and have since retracted their comments, and also went out there and saw him and watched him and witnessed him doing these long runs. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he's an extraordinary athlete runner. There just was some controversy around both of his big challenges, around his America one as well.
I haven't actually looked at any of his data, but I do know Gucci, and I would say it's almost certain that these people on the internet are just big whoppers that have looked at some of his data and decided that he's a cheat, and they've made a lot of noise, because they do it to me as well. They say the same things to me, and I'm like, listen, the data's there. If you want to say whatever you want to say, that's up to you. But I know it, and I think that a lot of people on the internet can just get a bit too much of this going on, and I think they get a little bit jealous, because they don't want to believe that someone like Gooch can do it. But the reality of like faking something like this with all the data that is available these days, it would be more hassle than actually doing it.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. We I mean, I was with my I call him my Chris Taylor for some weird reason. We're not in any kind of relationship, but he's a good friend. And he was when we were in Jordan, the data was just crazy. Zero question. You couldn't possibly question it, right? Just like 4 devices running at all times, GPS, InReach, Garmin's, Coros's, everything everywhere, heart monitors, just so that anyone who goes, oh, like, I don't think you did marathon 20s. There you go, mate.
Yeah,
we did. which I think is an important part of this kind of stuff.
He's like ripped up as well. He's like ripped up, shredded.
Yeah, he's a good-looking bastard.
Oh, he is a sexy motherfucker, Gucci. Wow, incredible. Put a wig on him, if you know what I mean.
This is an advertisement from BetterHelp. We all know that it's important to focus on taking care of our bodies. We try to eat well, we stay active, but what about our minds? Stress is everywhere, and just like skipping the cool down after a run, ignoring it catches up with you. Think of therapy like a workout for your mind. It keeps you sharp, balanced, and ready for anything. Training your mind regularly with a mental health professional is just as important as your time running or your time lifting in the gym. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/untapped. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/untapped. When you're tired, dehydrated, and struggling to concentrate, making smart decisions gets a little tough. That's why I take Vitals by Heights every single day. Initially, my team recommended it to me to keep me firing on all cylinders because it's not just about keeping my legs moving, it's about keeping my brain switched on and ideally making better life choices. Vitals are packed with 20 essential nutrients, including omega-3s for brain power, B vitamins for energy, and vitamin D3, all formulated by scientists and dietitians. And it just gives me that extra edge, better focus, sharper thinking, sustained energy, faster recovery, and deeper sleep, all in 2 capsules a day. Vitals are the smartest way to fuel your body and mind, so give it a go. Get 20% off your first month subscription at heights.com/untapped or use code UT20 at checkout. Would you look at, so just to get a better understanding of you, like, would you look at, nothing to do with him now.
Yeah.
Would you look at that challenge that he's achieved and think, I could do that?
Not right now, I couldn't do that right now.
I like the look of it.
What, Australia?
Well, I like the look of what he's just said. I think in many ways, and as, again, like, I hope this doesn't sound like I'm like after anything or in any way not a fan of his. That's just not the case. I think when bars are set, it's fun to have a look at at what can be done. Chris called me the other day and was just like, I just got a call saying that someone wants to do your exact route and beat you. I was like, great, good for them. I was like, I'd love to see that happen. Crack on. I think that would be really
healthy competition. I think it's all right.
I was looking at it, right, and the distances and the times and blah, blah, blah. And from what I can tell, there'd be like a chunk left over in the day, even if you went a bit slower. And I was kind of thinking, it's doable.
What, the Australia thing?
Mm-hmm.
Do you reckon?
I think so.
I'm not sure, man. 100. What was the averages? Do you know?
He was averaging just over 80, I think. I'm not sure that
No, it's more than that, bro.
I don't think so.
No, it was definitely more than that. It was like 110s. It was definitely plus 110s.
I think he did a fair few 110s, but I think it was
Can we get a stat check on that? It was 36 days, wasn't it? 36 days?
Something like
no,
that.
I think it was less, actually. I think it was 35 or 34 days. For me, once you start getting above the 1ers a day, like the max I've done on a daily consistent basis for like 30 days or more has been 75. And that was at the end of Africa. And when I look at that, I'm like, that was tough. Obviously, it was the end of the project, so I'm pretty battered up. But I think if I'd trained seriously for something, I could maybe get in and around that. But you never know until you're in the mixer, do you? So, yeah, go on. What's the stats?
So he did. So it was 3,800 kilometers in 35 days. It was an average of 110 a day.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy lifting. And so 110 a day. I would love to chat to him about how he's breaking it up.
So as part of my 24,
I
did 24 hours on the trot, and did 171.3k, and I crossed 100k in 11:22.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out whether if I stopped there and went to sleep for 10 hours or whatever, like, would I be able to just rinse and repeat that? Because that would be. You would have thought that could be manageable, but that's quite a fast 100k. Obviously, you could take 14 hours to do it instead. Slow it down considerably from where I was, because I think I was running. If you look at that, is that just over 6 minute Ks?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
I don't know. I think Gucci's going to smash the pretty high bar there.
This is just in the spirit of
yeah,
fun
no,
competition.
100%. And like, I would, if I thought I could do it, I would be like, yeah, I reckon I've got it. But right now, anyway, I'm like, no, Gucci can have that.
You've just come back off a stag do in Magaluf.
Yeah.
What was harder, Magaluf or Africa?
Honestly, I did always say though that 2-day benders are great mental prep for ultra running. You've got to figure out a way to stay in the game, mate.
Yeah.
Minimal sleep, fatigued, keep going, brother.
Those nights are the worst in Jordan when, for whatever reason, you got like an hour's kip.
It's
just like, wild dogs or whatever just screaming, you know, and you just can't sleep, or just for whatever reason, you're just really uncomfortable. Yeah. And then like you've got, your marathon to smash the following morning. And if you don't do it in a certain amount of time, it doesn't count for the world record and it's going to get 50 degrees.
Yeah.
You're just like,
grim.
Yeah.
Proper grim. I like the record chat though. So we've got the Australia record. It's 34 days or 35 days?
35 days.
That Gucci's done. Do you think you could do that?
Well, as you've said, I think I would need to try. Like, if you,
there's nothing wrong with saying you think you could do it if you can.
I think it's in me to do that. Yeah. I think I would need to your point, prepare for it. Like, I'd want at least a good 6 months to get going.
Yeah.
At least,
Big
So
time.
and you'd pick a time and I'd probably take a similar team to Jordan and I would. And by the way, like huge hats off to Gucci. Yeah. Massive respect to him.
I don't think he would take offence to saying I think I could beat your record. Like,
fair chance of failure, whatever.
Yeah,
but I would have a crack at that.
Yourself, yeah.
I'd have a crack at that.
What about the US? I think the US is quite an interesting one. 42 days, I believe. And I think that's about 114 kilometre a day average. You need to beat that. That'd be pretty big if someone could come and top that. I think that record's existed for a very long time. Would you fancy that?
Well, I mean, it's very similar, isn't it?
114k, bit longer than Oz.
It's a bit longer, yeah. No, I think like I saw the Will thing, and I thought firstly I thought that how fun that would be. Like obviously it'd be painful, but like my mind works. And like as I've already said, Jordan obviously was just the one marathon every day.
Yeah,
but there was plenty of room for more.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was on sand, so I didn't run on a road at all. I didn't have firm ground, not once for a month. I think in Australia,
running on sand is dog shit as well.
Yeah, it's slow, it's energy sapping. So I could shave off, a lot of time from those marathons if I had a road. And
I think you should do it, bro. I want to see it.
Will you come?
I can't do that right now. No way.
No?
I couldn't break that record right now. No chance.
It looked awesome. It lit a bit of a fire in me. Like when I saw it, because I loved it so much. I was really enjoying his content, and I saw it, and I just thought like, that'd be fun going after something with a set time. Yeah. Because the Jordan thing, like as much as I loved it, was like, as long as I completed my marathon every day in under 6 hours, we're golden. So it was quite, aside from maybe 2 or 3 days where that was quite rough because it was very loose sand and quite hilly.
Yeah.
We, broadly speaking, I was like running them in easy in that time. And it was kind of like, and I had time to enjoy myself. Whereas obviously if you're up against Gucci's record, you would be really rough, up against it. And it would be rough,
shape,
Yeah. Rough shape,
So there's some other records that I think that I've looked at, I think would be interesting.
Let's go.
The other one is Ned Brockman,
Oh, yeah.
He tried to beat it. I think he fell just short. It was 100,000 miles.
That is so grim.
So grim. So
he tried to do 1,000 miles down a track, no?
Yeah, in 10 days. So that's about 160k a day.
Yeah.
For 10 days.
Forget it. Like,
nah, you ain't.
I don't think so. No, because
what do you think's harder, that or Australia, or running across Australia with 110k average for 35 days?
I think the track. I think the track thing is harder than that because 160k took I did 171 in 24 hours. So doing 106, like the last 11k were pretty slow, and doing 160 and then having to do that
again 9
more times in 9 consecutive days, no chance. I can say straight away that I'm out on day 2, I reckon.
Yeah.
I could do the 160 on day 1. I don't think I'm even getting 160 on day 2.
Yeah.
I think I'm out already. Yeah. Whereas 100k, 110k, that last 50k is a big old chunk,
All right.
Whereas 100k, I think you can do it over and over again. You
kind right on the edge, I think. But yeah.
I mean, God, all of this is quite big chat, isn't it? Are we off to Australia? Let's go.
Okay, this one, I like the sound of this one as well. Longest run ever in one go. 350 miles.
Mate!
I
Okay,
think
so,
it's 350 miles, something like that.
but, okay, so we were talking just before you arrived
Yeah.
about like how fun it would be for us, you and me, just to set off and stop when you drop, basically. Just
Yeah.
like, just no sleeping, nothing, right?
Yeah,
Just no, you can fuel, you can go to the bathroom, you can even have a stretch, you can even have, you know, a quick 20-minute physio thing, but like you can't give up, right? You've just got to go. How far do you reckon you're getting? Well, what did you say, 350 miles?
I think it's 350 miles.
Yeah,
Bloody hell.
yeah,
That's
350 miles, yeah.
Is it? Because what was that? Like, go
That's
to
good.
the
How many
drop
K
thing?
is that? That's like 500 and something K.
560K.
560.
In one
That's
go.
grim.
Just shy of 81 hours.
81 hours. See, that would
81
be the
hours?
hardest part, is staying awake, mate. If you said to me right now, stay awake for 81 hours, I'd go, fuck that, lad.
But I think
81 hours.
You're almost better off running though, because like staying awake, sat still, you're never doing it. You just pass out. I was struggling to watch my favorite film the other day. Like I was just falling asleep. But I think if you're out and about, moving, where would we do that? Because I think
track. You'd have to do it on a track.
A track.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that'd be boring, wouldn't it?
No, but everywhere would get boring eventually, and you might as well be on a track where you can have all your stuff right there, and you can just. How far do you reckon you're making it?
I reckon I've got at least 200 miles in me. At least I think. I think it starts to get real rough after that. Maybe.
Yeah, I think I've got 50 hours in me. I don't know what that. I think 50 hours would be. I'd be like, all right, I can do 50 hours, and then after that, no sleep would really start fucking me up. I think I've done about 40 or 45 hours no sleep before.
So that's not a million miles from what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah,
So if I did 171k, which is 104 miles or 105 miles, something like
I wonder
that.
if drugs are allowed on that. Maybe not those kind of drugs, but what some legal drugs, don't do drugs, kids. But
no.
Like, you know, some stimulants that can, I don't know, whatever, like caffeine, but like stronger.
Yeah, something that can keep you up.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Because I don't know how people were staying awake for 8 hours in one go. That's crazy.
I've done several days on the trot when I used to work at ICAP, but you know, that's a different life. Yeah.
Do you know? Are you starting to see what I'm saying though? With like the benders, kind of a good training for the ultras.
Oh yeah. No,
good mental prep.
I think you know those boozy days at ICAP are certainly what got me around the desert.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm a big believer.
But no, I think like that's really funny, mate. Because I think you've kindly said that we could explore doing a challenge together or something like that. I think that's a great one, especially if it's at a track, because it is like as well when one person stops, which someone inevitably will at some point. The other can continue without being in some Welsh valley somewhere. You know?
Yeah. Are you thinking relay type thing? Because I think relay could be interesting.
Or just see how far we can get.
Imagine
as a team.
a relay of like, but one of us has always got to be running.
Yeah.
Just how far can you go?
And we have to both stay awake, or can one the other?
No.
Otherwise, we can
one's
go
running,
for
one's sleeping sort of vibes, and you just go until someone's fucked.
Well, I mean, we can fucking go for a real long time.
12-hour shifts.
I mean, how long do you reckon we could do that for? I reckon we could go a pretty long time. That might be a kind of like, darling, you're taking the kids to school for a while. Fine. See you in 3 months. Yeah. No, that's interesting, isn't it? I think I thought this the other day. That's so funny that we're all talking about this now. I was lying in bed thinking, like, if I just set off for a run at like 6 a.m. and I'm not allowed to sleep, and like, and the finish line is just giving up.
Yeah.
So stopping when you literally can't take another step. Like you can sit down, as I said, and rub your legs and whatever else, but like giving up, like when you pull the ripcord, you're done. How far do I reckon I could go? And I really don't know. But I'd love to try it. Like that's exactly the kind of thing that I'd love to do.
Yeah. I like, because there's the limit and then there's like the gun to your head limit.
Yeah.
So they're kind of different things, aren't they? So it'd be like, it'd be interesting to see what the gun to the head limit is.
Yeah. I think what kind of pace would you go at? Because it's interesting, is it? Would you try and bank the first like 100k quite quickly or not?
I think 7-minute Ks, because you can shuffle, like, you know.
Gucci shuffle.
Yeah, shuffle that.
Yeah, he's a shuffler.
Yeah. He's world-class shuffler.
He is a good shuffler.
Yeah.
Like he shuffles.
Yeah. Those just long pins, mate. Get them out. Shuffle along.
I like the no sleep thing, because it does mean that the thing has to come to an end at some point.
Yeah.
I think if we give ourselves rests and stuff, we're going to go for a real long time.
Yeah, the no sleep thing's good.
No sleep thing is good. I think we're going to do 3 full days. I think that ultimately is where we're going to end up, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you seen them backyard ultras as well?
Is that the beyond the?
Yeah, so you do like 7k an hour every hour.
Yeah.
And so you've got like 15-minute windows to rest, sort of thing.
Those lads smashed it. Those two lads. Did you see
What lads?
the one in Texas? Last Man Standing, it's called. It's the BPU or BPN
Okay.
one. There's one that's just done that in Texas. It's 7.2K or something. You got to go
Yeah,
hour on the
yeah.
hour. They did like 3 and a bit days.
Oh yeah, that's sick. Yeah,
And it was
I think the record's like 100 hours, something for that as well.
100 hours.
That's pretty tasty.
Absolutely grim, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like imagine how knackered you are at the end of that.
Bro.
You go to bed and you're just like, oh.
But they must be like doing little 5-minute cat naps.
Well, he said he sat down to tie his shoelaces and he fell asleep for 10 minutes.
That's
one
sick.
of the guys, yeah. It's sick. Yeah, that is sick actually.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Imagine like what I find so interesting about that as well is like what's the fueling strategy or even like the caffeine strategy for that, because there gets to a point where you probably need to take your little 5-minute power nap every hour, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to caffeinate up or not? Because you might caffeinate up and then you miss your sleep and then it fucks you even more. That's mind games, that, isn't it? What do you even do with that?
That's dark times.
Yeah, real dark. real
Well,
dark.
listen, I think we do it. This is what this show's all about. Like we should do it. We should set up little cameras and we should just go. We should go for it.
3 days.
Yeah, delicious.
Yeah, we'll probably have a good chat for like the first day, and then it'll be like.
Should we go
zombie
somewhere
mode.
where it's not going to be freezing at night though? Because that will make a big difference.
Oh, nowhere's that cold in the UK in that night, no?
What, at the moment?
In summer.
It was 0 degrees when I did my 24
Was
hours, and yeah, that just sucks. I went from being boiling to just freezing.
Yeah.
Which wasn't helpful, obviously, because then I had to fight kind of hypothermia and stuff, which was fine. But I would have preferred to have just been in Africa.
100%. Yeah, I actually quite like the heat. I don't mind running in the heat.
Yeah,
So
I like that as well.
Yeah.
Mate.
Chuck me in for a 25er.
We'll find ourselves
25
a nice little
degrees.
Spanish track or something where it's like 20 degrees at night, and we'll just go.
Yeah, I'm keen.
Do you ever wonder what your potential is, having achieved so much in this space, having covered so many thousands of miles? Like, if you had unlimited access to physio, nutrition, trainer, cash, sponsors, whatever, do you wonder if you would ever stop?
That's an interesting one for me, because I think on the surface, you'd probably think that all of those things would be good to have. But I think different people are made for different things, and like when I see like a Googe smashing the Oz World record, or I see all of these records for longest time ran, or the US or Land's End on goats, etc. Or even like some of these elite ultra runners that are out there winning races and things. Like, as amazing as it is, I don't think that's necessarily me. I think the parts that made me made for Africa is that like I will go and run 50k and then sleep in a van and have no physio and eat janky bread that I found on the side of the road, and I'll get up and I'll go again. I'll do it with no money as well, and that's where I excel in that arena. And I think they're slightly different arenas. I don't know how I would get on with all of the. I think in a lot of ways it might even be a hindrance to me having all of these people around me, big team, physios, people trying to talk to me all the time. Maybe I'm better suited to just being a raw dog going through Africa with like 3 lads in a shitty van. Honestly, I think that's maybe the answer. Is that's what I'm made for, unfortunately.
Well, guys, listen, we've had a good chat. A challenge has risen from the conversation, which is what the show is all about. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Mate, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in and sharing your wisdom. Maybe we'll leave the listeners with just a passing thought. If people are thinking about testing themselves, pushing themselves, potentially trying to untap the potential that I know is within everyone, what would you advise them?
My advice would be, sometimes in life you got to risk it for a chocolate biscuit, and chocolate biscuits are well yummy, so you should risk it.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you want to hear more incredible conversations with extraordinary people to help unlock the potential within all of us, then please subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you're listening or watching. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next week right here on Untapped.